Yo, what's up, guys? So I just got a controller, which means that everything I've kind of learned up to this point using keyboard is pretty much going to be gone. However, I wanted to make a video just kind of discussing some of the things I learned, since I feel like just in general, keyboard strats aren't really as explored. I could be wrong about that, but I haven't seen very much. So I just want to make a video documenting everything I've learned, and maybe hopefully some stuff is new. I don't really know what is. But I'll just kind of say, like, pretty much I've only dealt with hero story style as of now, because I've been focused pretty much exclusively on that. But for the hunting tourney, I also explored some Rouge. So I'm pretty much just going to be going over hero story style and Rouge. So yeah, I guess before we start, it's worth mentioning kind of just the controls. So WASD are pretty much as you would expect. That is the main limitation, is just having arrow keys for this instead of, you know, a joystick. Q is left camera trigger, E is right camera trigger, and normally J is jump and K and U are both action. I remap my keys to that. K is now jump and both J and U are action, but my key remapping doesn't show that, so just keep that in mind. Another thing I want to do is dispel some rumors. I've seen a lot of people saying that everything is harder on keyboard, which is not the case at all. Obviously, there are the class of tricks that are just straight up impossible on keyboard. There's another class of tricks that are, like, as you'd expect, harder but still possible on keyboard. But there's another class that actually becomes easier on keyboard. So let's just start in City Escape. So City Escape skip is, oh dear. City Escape is still obviously completely possible. I completely biffed that, but it's still completely possible. You just hold forward. The older version of the skip, the faster version, is also possible. In fact, that one actually gets easier with keyboard, because it's easier to do the movement around the pad. I've never actually tried this. There we go. But yeah, it's a lot easier to time the movement around the conveyor using just being able to change your angle immediately without, you know what I mean. Yeah, both of the C skips are honestly easier on keyboard. I mean, the first one isn't really affected by it though. Alright, so now we're in Wild Canyon. Just in general, the hunting stages are the least affected by having WASD, just because you almost always have this free camera. So if you need a specific angle, you can just turn the camera. And excuse me, and speaking of this, the camera is your absolute best friend when it comes to playing on keyboard. Just because you can't get those fine angles with just the arrow keys that you have, so you have to turn the camera to do it. However, also in hunting, there is something that is significantly more difficult, and those are spiral uppers. They're a lot slower because you can't do as fluid of a motion. Like that, this is pretty much as fast as I can do it, and it's still pretty slow. So that'll make some things a little bit more difficult, as you'll see later. But in terms of Wild Canyon, everything is completely doable here. Nothing really changes. Am I gonna get a free piece? Hey, hello. But yeah, so nothing really here. But there will be more stuff in other knuckle stages. Alright, so on to Prison Lane now. The mech stages are by far the most limited when it comes to playing on arrow keys, obviously, because, you know, you lose speed with the tiniest angle changes. So changing your angle by 45 degrees every time really slows you down. Like, even this turn, like, you can't, I don't even know if you can do this without losing speed on keyboard, even though it's pretty easy. Like, you just have to jump. And again, just like as you'd expect, jumping is your best friend here. However, there are still some little tricks that you can do. So, for example, this rail jump is possible if you're good at the game. Let me try and do that. Yeah, it's not too... Well, it is tougher than with joystick, of course, but still not terrible. So then we have the fence jumps. These are a little bit tougher, just because you can't just turn... And you have to basically do an extra jump when you're on this fence. It looks like that, because you can't just change your angle while you're walking on the beam. So you just have to have an extra jump. Let me do that one more time if I don't die. So yeah, just holding up, jump to hold up left, and just jump again. Very easy. So this upcoming corner is a lot tighter, but it is still possible to hit without getting hit by the beetle. Just like that. That was not even that great, but it is still possible, even with the added jump. And then we have the second fence jump. This one's a little bit different because the camera's positioned a little bit differently. Oh dear. Because the camera's positioned a little bit differently, we have to have more of a left angle when jumping off. It's like I was holding left there, and then I transitioned to left up when I was in the middle of, or when I was in the air. But it is still completely possible. So even though this level sucks a lot more to play, you can still do a few local things with it. On a Metal Harbor, the loop skip at the start is still possible to do, but it's a bit more finicky. So what I did there was, normally you'd want to hold like, maybe like up, right, right, or I guess it would be like, what is it? East, northeast on a compass. But we can't do that here. So what we have to do is just hold right at the start, like that, and then transition to just holding up once we're under the end of the loop, whatever it's called. I guess just like that. Actually, I was holding more up left. But yeah, it's still totally doable. So really the only other notable thing in this level is this jump here. Like, it is still totally possible, but it's a little bit harder. So what I did there was I held up left as soon as I jumped off, held it for a tiny amount more, then I transitioned to just holding left, and I was able to do it just fine. And yeah, again, that's really it for Metal Harbor, which is kind of surprising. But then we move on to this level here. So surprisingly, a lot is actually possible here. Actually, I think every like top level strategy, except for maybe that checkpoint skip. I haven't really looked into that a whole lot, but I think it is a weird angle you have to hold. Most of it is actually possible. So for example, air easy at the start, totally doable. Oops. Okay, I kind of messed it up, but it is possible to get up there. It's totally doable, but there are a couple things to note. So the way I do it is dashing, or yeah, light dashing here is definitely a lot easier to do. Holding up like around here, but I'd be higher up since I'm not falling down while I'm doing that. Like this, you hold up here, and then, so the way I do that is I want to jump off kind of at the sweet spot, holding up right. I was a little bit late. Yep, so then once I'm here, I'm on the wall. I kind of wanted to swing around. This is the kind of the tricky part, is making sure you don't fall off when on this invisible wall. It's a lot easier since it's just more flexible with the joystick. You won't slide off as easily. But like this, I'm holding up left right now. Oh, come on. Like this. And then from there, it's pretty much the same. So it's a little bit more difficult on this, but it is still completely possible. This loop skip is easy. Mini wall run is still possible. This curve is terrible. Because normally you want to hold up left there, but I was like, not. You have to hold like, yeah, you have to like do this with the left key. Anyway, let's talk about Green Forest wall runs. So this is interesting because it changes difficulty, but it doesn't necessarily get harder or easier. It just changes. This first jump onto the loop is much more difficult because you don't have as fine control over Sonic, so you have to rely a lot on the camera. And usually that's okay, but in this case it's kind of restrictive since obviously this area here is quite narrow. Once you're on here, the next part of the trick is actually a whole lot easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to release my spin dash, or I'd be holding up right now. Release the spin dash, just let go of everything. Hold left so you get into the loop. Hold up left so you take the right angle. And that's really it. And it's a really fluid motion. Super easy to get comfortable with. Okay, I messed it up there, but I got the speed. And there we go, second try. So yeah, in general, I would say the trick does become a little bit easier on keyboard. However, like I said, the start getting onto the loop is actually now the harder part. And because of that, it doesn't get that much easier. I guess beside that, we can talk about moon jump a little bit. That was the most consistent, or what just happened there is usually what can guarantee you to get to the platform the most consistently is that way of flying off, just kind of pushing up against the invisible wall and homing attacking at the right time. I didn't have a ton of leftover room. As you can see, I only landed like here, but it's pretty hard to mess up that movement, and if that happens, I'm getting here every time. Weird things start to happen if you don't get that exact angle coming off. Like, let's see. Okay, this is going to be the same thing. See? Super consistent. Okay, like something like this. I got stuck on the tree a little bit more. If that happens, just turning the camera. Damn, that was close. But yeah, just turning the camera, if you stay on the tree for a little bit longer, is usually the best way to do it. And if you land in the top area, it's probably... I mean, it doesn't really change from the regular strategy at that point. And lastly, this skip is still totally possible. Also, I just want to mention, I don't know how people do Air Jordan. I'm so bad at it. Everyone acts like it's not a big deal compared to Air Yeezy, but I just can't get it, dude. It's a fake trick for sure. Definitely not real. Next, let's talk about Mission Street. There isn't really a whole lot to talk about here. It's really just the same tail slow movement as usual. But it is worth noting that you can avoid that slow movement in these tunnels because you actually have... I don't know what it's called. Is it free cam? Is that what that is? You can actually turn the camera here, which will allow you to preserve your speed. But only in the tunnels. So like this tunnel at the start. And this tunnel here. By the way, this end sucks. Because the angle you want to hold is like left, up, left or something. Or up, left, up. Which you just can't do. So you just have to jump all the time. Boo. By the way, this incline here sucks. Like, normally you would just run across it, but it's even slower with keyboard, so I just jump. Next, we're in Aquatic Mine, and Aquatic Mine really doesn't change that much, although there are a couple things to keep in mind. So the sign wall runs are actually still completely possible. And honestly, they're not really that much harder. It's just knowing kind of the camera angle you need, and also, like, what you need to hold. So I'm holding mostly up, but also some up left and up right. If the camera's more like this, obviously you're holding more up left, but this is kind of the same as just on joystick, so it doesn't really matter. This is still completely possible. Also, this sign down here, right below the sign equipment of the ghost room, this one is a bit more finicky just because there is this fence here, so you kind of have to run on it awkwardly like this and then hold left to do it. It's not really great. Normally you'd want to hold like a bit more up, but since we can't do that, it's just kind of more awkward. Gotta hit it from a weird angle. Come on, please. Thank you. I guess you can also hold up left, but you just gotta jump right. The dented ceiling grab is actually quite a bit easier on keyboard, since it's really easy to just snap to straight down like this. Not hard at all on keyboard. And then this monitor clip. Like I said earlier with spiral uppers, that makes this monitor clip quite a bit more difficult, but it is still doable if you're good at the game. There we go. Got a second try. But you do still have time to do it on 2 tries. By the way, I did actually get the dented ceiling emerald this time, so I can just show that off real quick. See, super easy. Also, I do just want to show off some stair-shaped brick room stuff with this sign here, just because they're super easy to set up with keyboard. If you're going from this side, you just clip out and hold straight up, and you're right there. Or if you're on this side, you hold up left, and you're right there. Very easy. Next, we can just briefly talk about Route 101. Not really because there's anything special. In fact, it's super easy to do on keyboard. Yeah, for some reason, I'm still really bad at it. That's all I wanted to mention here. Hidden Base is actually quite fun on keyboard. At least, I mean, fun compared to relative to the other Tails stages. Just because you spend so much time in the air, and you can still do a lot of cool tricks. So, for example, the pole jump that you have here is still completely doable if you're good. Because you have a completely free camera here, so you can just use the camera shutters to rotate yourself. Oops. The movement up to the pole jump, though, on pace for the cycle is a lot more difficult now, just because you're just generally slower with tails. This is maybe already off pace. Let's see. Might be like barely on pace. Oh man, barely off. So there was time save there, but, or basically, yeah, there's time save there, so you can see that it is still possible, but it's very precise now. So for this jump here, it's a little bit annoying because your camera is fixed when you're doing this. And the angle that you want to hold is usually more like, what is it? Maybe like left up, if that makes sense. Like west northwest. So it becomes quite a bit more tricky, and also because you don't have free camera up to a point. Like the way I handle this is I go over here at this corner, kind of jump off with an up left angle, then I just hold straight left, and then once the camera starts to tilt back, I tilt it back manually, so I'm facing straight up, and usually that's enough to get over this gap. And then this jump here to the side, it's a lot more difficult because the camera doesn't want to play with you. So usually what you got to do is you got to kind of hover jump like this, go back to avoid this dude's ass over here. I guess it's more just his legs. My bad. My bad, bro. And then once you're around, the camera will fix itself just like the other jump, and you can make it across. But it's quite a bit tougher. Actually, this jump here, this hover jump is a lot more difficult now. Just because you want to hold like a, what is it, like an up left angle, which you can't do anymore. So this just becomes way more difficult. It's super inconsistent for me still. But it is possible. And then really kind of the last thing I think for this stage is handling this door. What I feel like most people do is they kind of like go in here and then they like shoot the door from here. Which you can do here, but as you can see, like there's not really a great way to do it. Like you just kind of have to hope you like shoot while like Tails is in between the up left and left angle. So what I do is I just jump off and shoot the door. I don't even think it really loses time, but I could be wrong. And that's all there really is here, I think. On to Pyramid Cave. Yeah, these slope sections are horrible now. Because you can't hold the right angles, so you just slow down so much. There might be a way around it, but I just haven't figured it out yet. This jump over here is still doable if you turn your angle like this and then jump. It'll automatically correct it and you can make it across. However, you need to be kind of really close up to the end of this. You can't just be like here and expect it to work. So setting up might not even make it faster. It only saves like a second, right? I don't know. Something like that. So first door skip is not a problem at all. Still completely doable. The only thing is that if you do get your camera kind of like stuck over the fence like this, there's not a great angle for you to super bounce anymore. Because you'll kind of just go to the side. So the way to fix that is, if this ever happens to you, you just jump and the camera will fix itself. And you'll be on your merry way. So for second door skip, I've seen not a lot of people. I've seen some people talking about this. Like, how is this possible on keyboard? You hold up. It's not a big deal at all, guys. Yeah, another one of these. Oh my god. Ugh. Oh dear. So snake skip is still completely possible, but because of the joystick thing, you need to actually hold, or you need to lock your camera in a precise position. Usually this kind of left, or kind of the right of this snake here, obviously didn't work this time. I would have done some mid-air adjustments if I was actually paying attention. There, just like that. Then we have this last gravity bounce. It's a lot like it's a lot like the Green Forest wall run at the start, as in you have to kind of do this jump onto here that becomes a lot harder just because of you don't have the freedom of your movements. You have to use the camera a lot. And also this little ledge here is even thinner than in the Green Forest wall run. However, the actual thing after that is obviously not as hard because you don't need a gravity bounce, and you can go to like, oh my goodness, you can go to right here, turn the camera, and bounce like this, and you're good to go. Well, you're good. Bit more of a left angle this time. There we go. Totally doable. If you go up high enough, I don't exactly know when it is, but it'll actually lock your camera, which won't work because then you can't get the precise angle. And I guess just for the record, this is what happens if you just hold upright and do it. So, I mean, honestly, not the worst thing in the world, but obviously not what you want. All right, death chamber time. So, really, again, there isn't a whole lot to say with these knuckle stages. The only thing to really mention is the box clips. So, the inputs for them are actually, and like getting the angles to get out of bounds on the boxes are super straightforward. You just go in here. Once you break the first box, you hold upright. And in that case, I think I had too much of a right angle, so it didn't quite work. But it's totally doable, and frankly, it's, yeah, like that. It's super easy, unless, of course, you don't have the right angle or whatever. I haven't really confirmed if this is true, but because we can't kind of, I know a lot of people like to roll from the up to the upright. I think that might be done to kind of preserve speed when doing this. So just going from straight from up to upright might lose a little bit of speed and thus make, like, it won't make breaking the box harder, but it will make not actually clipping out of bounds. Kind of like that. Like what happened there. I think I had too much of a right angle again there, but because of that, it might make the trick a little bit harder in that regard. However, in just in general, just performing the inputs becomes significantly easier now. But the timing window might shrink just like a frame or so. Hi, Wandering Ghost. And it is also just worth mentioning that, of course, we have hint clips again here. They're fine, but they become a little bit more difficult. Why am I terrible at them today? Jeez. Boo. What the fuck is he doing? Let's take a quick look at King Boom Boo, just because the fast cycle is possible here. The inputs are a lot more precise though. So let's break it down a little bit. So right at the start here, I'm going to hold up left, and then I'm going to do a punch excel as fast as possible. So I just really spam jump, and then I punch right in the top right. You can see there's a little button cue to do your little drill drive or whatever it's called. Once that goes away, that means you're on the ground. Immediately you want to punch there. Again, we want to get speed as quickly as possible for this to work. Hold up left, do this, punch, and then transition to up before getting to the ghost. And now, once I was there, you want to be really intentional about how you turn around. So you start with up, then you want to transition to up left, then down left, then down. That sounds really tedious to think about, but you need to carry as much speed over as possible. Let's see if this works. It did. Okay. So for this next part, I'm going to want to think down right and then right. So we'll go down right, then right. So now I'm holding right. And then from here, I want to punch right away. And then it's just about getting as much to the inside of that pillar as you can. Right about here. Maybe that's too far. And then I'm going to start holding down right. And then dig at the right time. And if you carry the speed over, you should be able to dig right by the little fish guy as normally with the visual cue. And that'll be enough speed to get all the way across. Let me try it again. Just like that. And then from here, it might seem a little bit weird as in how do you get around this round pillar quickly, because you don't have, obviously, the controls to get around smoothly. However, it's really easy. You just can hold right here, and you'll get past here, and then you can just turn like this, and boom, there's the ghost. So, it is possible to get consistent. The most inconsistent part about it is turning back. Whoa, why is he going this way? Is turning, when you're going this way, turning around at the right time. Just because I don't really have a visual cue for it yet. But the rest of it is not too bad as long as you can get the inputs consistently. Again, also turning around Like really thinking about up, left, left, down. Really good to think about for this. Like up. Oh. Yeah. That's all I got here. And this is really the only notable boss in Hero Story. So for Eternal Engine, so I remember a long time ago, there's this video of somebody getting, I don't remember who it was, but somebody got Bofa with keyboard, and I was able to get it one time, one of the first attempts I did it, kind of in the same setup, where they kind of like went from here, they did like a jump, and then they shot the boxes like this, and they were able to get it. I was able to do it one time off cam, but I don't remember how, I don't remember exactly how I did. I haven't been able to do it since then, and also that I think it was after a death. So I don't think it's feasible for Hero Story runs. I mean, unless after a death, but that's kind of stupid. So it is possible, but much, much harder to do. So as for the regular Eternal Engine skip, it's totally possible to do it in a way I think Dark Pro shared a long time ago, where you just go from like here and then hold up and you clip out of bounds like that. Okay, messed it up that time. There we go, just like that. But it is worth noting that once you're out of bounds here, the angle that you want to hold is like, it's like down and down right, but like, how do you describe it? It's like maybe like 2/3 down right and like 1/3 down, if that makes sense. So we can't really hold that angle. So what I do is I just hold straight down right. I do it for like 21 seconds is my thing. So I'm just gonna go until I guess it's, what is it? I don't know. I'm just gonna go. There is also a visual cue for it. If you don't want to count to 21 seconds, it's like right when, is it that thing? No, it's not that thing. Oh, I think it was this thing actually. So from there, you just want to hold straight down. So I'm probably too far right here, but that's all right. Oh, where am I? Oh yeah, I was way too far right. But yeah, so then you can just go around here and do the rest of the trick as normal. But I want to die. I started hovering at 51, so I'm going to want to go until 12. Or I'm going to want to go just straight down right until 12, then I'm just going to hold straight back, and it should work just fine. And ta-da! And I went way too low. Oh, actually that was good, and I'm still bad at the game. Oh dear, that was not good, but oh well. So basically, yeah, it's still possible. You need to take a little bit of weird movement. Okay, let's take a quick look at Meteor Herd. So kind of something to note about the very start is that the hint monitor is kind of like up, left. So probably the best way to take this one is just to turn the camera and then just run straight towards it like that. Something that is important to note though is that if you're doing meteor checks like this, your camera is locked and you can't just turn it because you need to look at the meteors, right? So what you can do is do your punch excel like this, and then once that's done, you can just go to the monitor. So it looks something like this. Just like that. Ooh, hello, hello. The only other really thing that's notable here is that you can still do this little trick, but you need to kind of adjust the camera. And also be good at the game. That would help as well. Ta-da. So Crazy Gadget is mostly okay. However, the skips are a little bit interesting. And by a little bit interesting, I mean very, very interesting, actually. So with just regular Crazy Gadget skip, getting all the way down there, you have to hold kind of... it's mostly down, but a little bit right. Which you just really can't do. Like, I've tried many different angles and different positionings. It just doesn't seem like it really works. Like, if I just hold down right here, you can see that. And, like, if I tried to change angle, I just wouldn't have had the distance at all. So, because I don't think regular CGS is possible. CGSS, on the other hand, is possible on keyboard. So, by the way, I skipped the camera trigger up above, so I have good camera. Getting out of bounds is not that hard. The inputs are pretty simple. So what I did there was I started by holding right. Then pretty much immediately I switched to up. And then I kind of, right before I was completely out of bounds, I held Q to kind of change the camera so that I was holding more of an upright direction without actually holding upright. And doing that is important for this next part, and that is because there's no way to get the correct angle to the goal ring. It's somewhere in between these two angles, and I just can't get that far, so he was all the way down there. And that is actually the really difficult part of this trick. Getting out of bounds is very easy. Getting on the right path is not easy at all. I found a way to do it. I'm going to show that on screen just because it's extremely difficult and looks extremely stupid. I was only able to get it one time, and as you can see, it was barely getting it. But basically that allows me to hold an angle that's pretty much perfect. I think it has like a 1 degree flexibility. And the really key thing about it is that there is as little switching of directions as possible between like up and right as possible. So it's all holding up. And as such, just because switching between them loses so much distance. So, and the camera allows that speed to be preserved during that. Or I guess say speed was the right word, not distance. So CGSS is possible, but way harder just because of that second half. Again, this first half is much easier to do on keyboard. Hold on, buddy. Hold on. I got an angry kitty. Not you. However, it is worth noting a very long time ago that Power John had the record in Crazy Gadget, Mission 1, I think it was, on keyboard. And that was with the bad cams, so clearly something is possible here, but it might take some more looking into. I didn't even use the camera trigger, or I didn't even use the camera here, and I was able to get the clip out, so again, it's not hard at all on keyboard. But yeah, still really far off. See if I can do the super bounce. That's still possible. That was scuffed, but again, it can still be done, obviously. So yeah, really the last thing to note is in the puzzle room, the super bounce there requires a pretty precise angle that isn't really allowed by the camera. If you're going without skips or anything, this super bounce here is a lot more difficult just because it's like that. See, oh dear. Like that's an angle that's not possible on keyboard. And you can't modify it because the camera is locked there. So, as such, you just kind of have to deal with it. I've generally noticed that holding upright gets it a bit more consistently. Like, that was good. Gets it a bit more consistently than holding just straight up, because usually that will kick you off to the side, like how I died earlier. Yeah, if you can use that railing on the side to your advantage, definitely do it. Because, yeah, like, this is what happens if you try just holding upright without the rail. But using the rail is what gets usually the best results, and then this is all fine. So lastly, we're ending here sort of with Final Rush. Good, kill point viewer. Watch how I get off this rail. So, this is what the movement, assuming we're doing that specific route through this. It's a little bit different. I don't know why I'm going this way. What? See, the key is that we normally want to kind of turn gracefully from straight up after this rail to just kind of an upright so that we can get on this purple rail. since we can't just do a smooth turn through that, instead we have to use the camera. So I'm going to do it one more time. And kind of the key is pressing the left trigger of the camera right before getting off of the rail, and that'll usually work. Just like that. However, it is worth noting that because we changed our camera now, like as we're going into the spin dash and we change our angle, see how the camera tilted with me? So like normally this this bomb robot would still be in kind of the center of the screen. Now it's kind of off to the side. Because of that, the kind of left press that we want to take to get on the orange rail in the back needs to be a lot smaller because the camera's going to kind of turn with us. And again, there's more camera weirdness in that section. Just holding neutral will avoid all of that. Let's talk about Final Rush Skip now. So, normally the angle that you'd want to hold after bouncing off of the rail back here is somewhere kind of in between up and up left, I think. Or maybe like up left and left. I don't know, it's been a very long time since I've done that on a joystick. I mean, it's only been like 6 years. But that's not possible on keyboard. I've tried and it doesn't get you, I believe it's quite the right distance. So because of that, we have to do some camera fuckery. But it is completely possible to do. Alright, I got my camera out so I can kind of show how the inputs for this work, or how my hand positioning works for this. So, hello. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show it. So look at where my hands are. So I have both Q and E along with A and what is it, W. So I'm holding up left and both camera triggers so that I'm locked in a position that allows me to get the right angle. And as you can see, I'm past the kill points. So kind of breaking down my inputs for this is that I jump off neutral and then, I jump off neutral, then I start holding up and right along with left trigger, which in my case is Q. That's going to twist the camera around. And then at a certain point, I'm going to lock the camera again with E and then start holding up left. Because I'm locking the camera and holding up left, I'm going to need 4 fingers for that. That's really awkward to do with just one hand, so I bring the other hand over. So just like this, I'm holding upright. The camera's going to turn, I'm going to lock it. And the exact position I want to lock it here, I can't really pause the game right now, but it's right around where Sonic's balls are... Pause. I mean, the trail's kind of where it lines up. Let me see if I can do this. I can't really pause it. I'll show an image kind of right where Sonic's trail lines up with that window on that center of the tower in the background. I want to hold that position for about, 17.5 seconds is what I say. And that's 17.5 after the jump. Like, let me do this in full. So I'm going to want to turn it around 17.5 seconds after. So that was like mid 27, right? So I'm going to want to turn at like, center. I'm going to want to turn at like 45-ish. Come on, there we go. Right around 45. I might go a little bit later just to be safe. And yeah, this will have plenty of height, just landing in the same little area in the bay, just right in the middle. And this should be, like I said, completely good. Ta-da! Yeah. Not the most height in the world, but definitely going to be enough to clear the plane. Voila. So yeah, definitely the hardest part of that is getting out of the muscle memory for how to get both of the hands onto the one side, or if you're really good, just getting it all done with one hand, which I don't know how you would do, but I'm sure maybe you could do it. Okay, now let's briefly talk about FastFR and OBT. Oh dear. So FastFR is not really affected by keyboard really at all, especially if you're doing like the gravity-less strategy, which is like something like this or something. Like that. And, it works sometimes. See if I can get it to work. There we go. So obviously I'm cheating because I'm not very good at it, but it is completely doable. And again, it's not really made any harder by using a keyboard. The one with gravity, though, is a lot harder from what I've noticed because you lose a lot of speed by turning around. I was able to get it one time out of maybe like half an hour of practice, but I don't really remember how. But yeah, so from my experience, this one gets a lot less consistent. But again, it is possible. I just can't really give many tips on it. Okay, so I did a little bit of research into OBT. And from my knowledge, like to get past this first area, you need to have kind of a weird camera angle, which is why like my camera angle is really weird anyway, right here. You need it to be a little bit to the right of being purely up, which is why I had it locked I had it locked and then is slightly to the right of what it would normally be. However, doing this, it just barely doesn't get past the furthest most kill plane. Like, so I'm doing the hover, and like this right up here, this top kill plane, like right up here is the opening. I think the furthest I've gotten with this is like right up here, just barely below the opening. So I think with more research, because I didn't do that much, it might be possible to get this with locking a weird camera angle. However, I feel like there's more to it than just that, which would mean that actually holding the angle is actually required rather than just modifying where the camera's pointed. However, if you can get past that kill plane up there, I'm pretty sure it's just a free shot, because by then you're just adjusting the angle, going at the right time, whatever. So yeah, this one is a inconclusive. It might be possible, but I do have my doubts about it. And I guess on that matter, every single trick in Final Rush that we've seen so far is all harder than with a joystick, with the exception of the gravity-less fast Final Rush, of course. So yeah, the last thing to kind of note about Final Rush is that the full wall run is actually completely possible. It's hardly even affected by keyboard. First try, nice. But yeah, so that's all for Hero Story, really. Shit. So like I said, I have pretty much no experience with Dark Story at all, outside of Rouge, just for the hunting tourney. But, ooh, hello. I do have a couple remarks about the Rouge stages. Not that much for Dry Lagoon. There is just one small thing. This clip over here. Like I said with the spiral... Oh my god. Like I said with the spiral uppers, they're a lot more precise now on keyboard. And as such, using the whistle here to buffer it is definitely not free anymore. So like I got it that time. But you kind of have to work for it. It's not just given to you anymore. Like that time I didn't get it. But, you know, it's still, you can still do it. And it's honestly still not that hard. It's just knowing that it'll take a little bit more time. Dude, what the fuck? There isn't really a whole lot to say about egg quarters. I just wanted to mention that pipe clip is still possible. However, you need to kind of handle it differently just based on how the camera is. Like if I go up here, so like in this position, my angle is a lot more, it's facing the corner. I hope my cursor is on screen. It's facing this left corner of the wall a bit more. And as such, when you jump out, you'd want to be holding more up left to actually clip out. Oops. Like that. Hello. But otherwise, if it's more flat, kind of like this is a little bit more flat, you want to just jump out by holding left. And also, as you fail it more times, it will naturally just start to drift into the corner where you want to jump out holding up left anyway. So, just such something to keep in mind. Am I going to get to alter from here? Yes, I am. Let's go. Alright, Security Hall. So, there isn't really a whole lot to talk about here. However, I do want to talk about this 3 cylinders clip that I actually managed to get first try in the Hunter Tourney, which, by the way, I still can't believe that. But it's it's actually way more difficult. Like, getting the clip out there is not different at all. But actually getting to the safe is a lot more difficult because you don't have as fine control over your movement. As such, we need a little bit of different movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of line myself up. Let me go to this side so I can kind of show it. Line myself maybe up to like down here. and then all the way to the other side. I want to lock my camera like this. And actually for this, I got my camera back again. Hello. And that is because when locking the camera like this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go left the safe, and then I'm going to press down once I'm behind the safe to actually come back in and get the piece. While locking the camera, that's difficult. So what I do is I'm going to move my microphone just for a sec, is that I use my thumb. I don't know if this is visible on the camera like at all. I guess it is. Yeah, you can see my thumb is over A, and then I'm going to switch it over to S. So let me give that a try. I'm going to jump off. I'm going to jump off neutral and also just a small jump. Hold left and hold down. And I think that would have got it. Maybe. Let me try it again, just to be sure. Okay, that wouldn't have gotten it. One more time. That definitely would have gotten it. That's probably the most consistent way to do it. I tried some other things with like just a free camera, but then I just decided, you know, locking the camera is probably the most simple way to do it. So that's that. Also, worth noting that by the way, if you were watching the Hunter tourney, yes, I completely missed the spiral upper here. Or I guess screw kick, whatever. I completely missed that you can do this, but yeah, it's completely doable on keyboard, even though it's a little bit slower. Like that would have gotten the piece. Well, actually, would it have? Because maybe it wouldn't have. Let me try one more time. Okay, well, that wouldn't have gotten it. Come on, please, one more try. There, that would have gotten it. So yeah, it's harder, but it's completely possible, and I believe that's really all there is to talk about in this level. By the way, that was intentional in the tourney, in case anyone was wondering, but I don't think it was the right move. So the last level I'm going to talk to, the last level I'm going to talk about today is Mad Space, and there's a couple notable things here. First of all, I want to just talk about 3D color container piece 3. And this once again goes back to the whole spiral upper thing. If this piece is there, I'm going to lose my mind. Okay. So normally, just with joystick, the spiral upper is super precise anyway, just because of the glitchy nature with this platform. It's being particularly nice to be in that location, but also I'm just doing it. I'm doing my regular inputs, and it's not letting me screw kick at all. So just in general, this is a hard one to pull off. Like, I don't even think buffering with a whistle works on this. As such, for a keyboard user, screw kicks aren't really a viable option to get this piece. As such, the best way to get it is just to get onto the platform, which is a lot easier said than done on keyboard. Just like this. And then you want to kind of go up to this upper left part, because when you jump off... Okay, no. As I was saying, you want to go up to this upper left part, and then jump. And that will usually get you the piece most of the time. So the last thing that I kind of want to touch on is Missouri March, because it is actually completely possible on keyboard. However, we need to do some things with the camera. So we're going to lock the camera like this, and we're going to do our little jump. But then I let go of Q just for a sec to turn my camera a lot more to the, I guess it would be, I don't know, more to the right or left. But basically now Rouge is out of view, but you can still do the march. And I somehow clipped on something. Let me try that again. There we go. Then you can jump off. And by the way, with this jump, I feel like just because of keyboard, there's not really a great way. I've tried this so many times. There's not a good way to just hold the angle straight to black containers at the base. Maybe there's a way, but I haven't found it yet. And lastly, you can also do this on the right side if you're trying to get to the other side of the capsule. The nail there, but you can see it is possible. It would be really funny if the piece was there. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all there is to mention. So yeah, I hope this is useful to somebody. Hopefully you guys learned some things. Hopefully everything I just mentioned isn't already known. But yeah, hopefully this is useful, and yeah. Controller gaming time.